This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. So Sony is having another sale with their double discounts, and why not shed some light on some titles that are worth checking out now or at least adding to your wishlist for later. So the first one up is Days Gone. I love this game. It's easily one of the best PS4 games, and it runs even better on the PS5. This title got a lot of unfair hate from the game's media when it came out. There were some critics that hated the banter between Deacon and his wife, along with all the zombies being white, when in the game's lore, the cause that makes them infected actually affects the pigmentation of a person's skin. A lot of these comments were really stupid and highlight why we should only tune into these people to laugh at this horrible and poorly thought out takes. As a game, it's great. This is made by the guys that are responsible for all the wonderful Siphon Filter games. Story-wise, I was invested, loved the main character, and seeing him grow along with the directions the story took. Ultimately, it is a game about hope, and seeing as how Sony is not interested in a sequel to this, yes, this game does have closure and provides a satisfying endpoint, while leaving some things left open. Gameplay-wise, you have a mix of shooting, stealth, and melee. In many instances, you have a lot of choice in how you tackle the many action sequences. Then you have the zombie hordes. These are not provided to you right away. The game likes to build up to these, so when you finally get to an encounter like this, they have a lot of weight behind them, and each of these encounters have a lot of replay value, since the player has so many options and needs to react efficiently. I love Days Gone, and it's an easy recommendation. I actually really enjoyed the first Watch Dogs game. At its heart, it's a third-person shooter with plenty of opportunities for optional stealth. It has a mishmash of different mechanics used in other Ubisoft games seen at the time. Gameplay is good, along with a story that feels like the origin story for a vigilante. I actually have never played any of the sequels because Aiden is not the main protagonist in them. I really like him in this and got attached to his story. The music is also a plus, just not the licensed stuff. The Metro games are easily some of the finest first-person shooters I have ever played. The stories are always high quality, along with the absorbing world and gameplay. You want an example of a good game with great atmosphere? Then this is it. The mixture of stealth and open combat, along with both human and monsters, helps to keep the action engaging. This series does not get enough love, so if you haven't played it, you need to. Rage 2 is a great first-person shooter, and one that as time has gone on, I find myself liking it even more. The first game was underrated, and so was this one. While I didn't really care for the driving as much in the second, the combat more than makes up for it. The shooting and the general action all feels great. If you need a new single-player first-person shooter, play this one. I know people can be a bit mixed on the whole live service, always online type of thing, and in fairness, we have seen way too many of these in recent years, but one that is easily one of my favorites, and is easily one of my favorite third-person shooters, is the very first Division. I love this game completely. The story setup is really interesting, along with all the little stories you experience throughout the campaign. The different factions ensure that you are always fighting engaging enemies, from rioters to firefighters turned bad, along with a few others. The shooting here is tight and operates how you would want a third-person shooter to be. There's little touches that keep the movement system good as well. Plus the setting is great, in New York during the winter. There's something about snow in games, when done well it's so beautiful and atmospheric. Division 1 is packed with content, and I would recommend that you pick up the Gold Edition. So from the base game, you have the campaign, and each of these missions feel like what Ubisoft used to make. Awesome direct single-player or co-op missions. Then you have all the open world activities, a horde mode that is like Division's take on zombies, along with the raid. The first DLC provides you with randomly created dungeons, and the second is like a survival mode, where you still earn rewards for your main character. I have put several days of playtime into this title, and it's always a title I love coming back to. Plus the soundtrack is top tier. The Sniper Elite games are consistently fun and always a title I look forward to. The second, fourth, and fifth are all on sale. On screen I'm showing footage from the recent fifth game. The second has some roughness to it, but it still provides a good time. The fourth is probably the best entry so far, with a great amount of freedom to each of the levels. The amount of replay that you get just from the campaign is nuts. You could focus on being a sniper, play the game like a World War II Splinter Cell game, or just go all out and be more direct. Then you have the co-op options, like an awesome mode where you can work together in some Overwatch missions. Sniper Elite 5 is still a very good game, but it's just not as good as 4. Some things feel smoother and more refined, and while the maps are pretty big with lots of options, they also seem to funnel you more, and I think this is because they added in that invasion PvP option that can happen while you are playing the game. You can turn this off if you want to as well. Personally, I really like this mode, but it meant that the campaign maps had to be designed with this in mind, and the Overwatch missions are not present in that title as well. You pretty much can't go wrong with a Sniper Elite game. The Ascent is a very fun top-down shooter. It has great action, lots of amusing video game violence, and plenty of upgrades to earn. It's a blast in single player or in co-op, plus the soundtrack is one that I like to listen to even when not playing the game. It is fairly buggy, but since it does so much right, I always found myself coming back to it. I look forward to what these developers do next. I love the original Alan Wake. It is one of my top favorite games. It is a pretty meaty, linear single-player game with a great story. It is addicting, and it's something you're not going to want to stop playing. It's a page-turner. Plus, the main character is probably my favorite that Remedy has ever done. I love seeing the growth with Alan. He is rather unlikable at the start. The gameplay centers around third-person shooter action, with some interesting light mechanics. Enemies have this darkness shield that protects them, so firearms will not damage them as long as they have the darkness up. This is where you need to use your flashlight to burn away the darkness, and then you can use your guns to finish them off. This means that flashbang grenades and even flare guns turn into devastating weapons that can take out your foes. This was a cult classic that originally came out at a poor time, and it was looking that while Remedy was still interested in making a sequel, it didn't look like it was going to happen. But now this year, we're finally going to get that sequel. So if you're interested in seeing how this all started, or you just need a new action horror single player title, this is a must buy. Now, I couldn't do another sales video and not mention Dead Island 2. This is easily one of my favorite games this year. I really enjoyed the first. It's janky, and it's still a fun game to play to this day. As it pertains to the sequel, for a title that was delayed for many years, Dead Island 2 released in a pretty good state. The violence in the game is simply disgustingly impressive. This seems like a new standard for what other games should strive for. I had a blast playing it in both single player and in co-op. The missions are fun, and the game does a good job of slowly providing more to the player. Not to the point that it feels like the entire game is this overlong tutorial, but rather it drip feeds and adds on more elements and mechanics, and makes the fun feels like it's always compounding. I got lost just running around the different environments, looting and fighting endless zombies. So there's my list to check out during this sale. What titles are you looking to pick up? Were there any here that you're interested in? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.